3, 2, 1, let's go.
It's life outside the box.
Come on, you've got a comment on his singing. He's just done a personal performance for you. You've got a
Personal
comment
performance.
What would you rate the intro out of 10?
Yeah, I would say 11 out of 10 for
Thank
Sam.
you.
Yeah.
No, man. We've
Another
not
11.
started.
Yeah.
This podcast is about to telling the truth.
I
Not filling
am. I
people.
support Sam in all these endeavours, you
I'm
know.
thinking about just forgetting the podcast and going into the music scene.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so we just realised that the guys at home that are listening to this on Spotify and podcast don't know who the third voice is. So, Samuel, do you want to introduce our guest this week?
Today we have Jacques joining us, born and bred in South Africa, now working in Bandung, Indonesia. Great friend of ours. I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit of his story and his kind of take on CrossFit and coaching and everything else in between.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me on the podcast, guys. It's excited to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Do you want to just give the viewers a quick insight into who you are, Jacques? Where you've been, where you're going?
Yeah, basically, I'm a CrossFit coach. Daily life, been all around the world, Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, and Thailand, and now residing in Indonesia, working for Wanderlusts. So, coaching CrossFit and wrestling for most of my life. Being a wrestler turned into a CrossFitter, and CrossFit just touched me in a way that I wanted to help people so much, and that gave me the opportunity. And then, moving abroad gave me that big gap to just go and change people's lives.
So I think you touched upon something there that me and Sam are super interested in hearing more about throughout the podcast, and that is the fact that CrossFit has given you the opportunity to travel to so many different countries and work with so many different people in so many different kind of situations.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's something that I've wanted to do since the start, and I didn't want to be stuck to one place and be that guy doing just the same thing every day and out. And CrossFit gave me that opportunity to actually go abroad and see different cultures and actually learn more about different cultures. And then that kind of changed into adapting to coach different cultures. So,
Yeah, that's really interesting and exciting how you can find a job that allows you to travel and not be stuck in one place. Like a lot of people, you think about getting a job in life and you're like, right, this is it. I've got a job. I've got my career. Now I need the house and the kids and everything else. But you can find a job like you have, or any other job, where you can actually use that as a aid to move to different countries and to see different things, experience different cultures, and grow your kind of knowledge of coaching through your experiences with travel, which is super interesting.
And also you touched upon there that you said that CrossFit kind of touched you and gave you the opportunities to do all this kind of thing. And it's kind of like a long-running trend with all of our guests that if you're super passionate about something, the doors will keep opening as long as you keep knocking on them, as long as you keep working hard.
yeah, for sure. It's something that I did once and never looked back. You know, it's something that was challenging enough to being a wrestler. You want something that's going to challenge you for the rest of your life, and you like that challenge. So CrossFit challenged me the first time, and then from there I just kept working, like doing everything I could to get a job, do an internship for free, like just doing stuff to get better, and then eventually got a job abroad and coaching. So it's just keeping working at it, man. It's like nothing else.
And also the fact that you've been able to compete in different regions and over the world as well, that's something obviously apart from coaching that CrossFit has given you as well.
Yeah, like that competitive side's always going to be there. So going abroad, there was loads of opportunities more than we had to actually compete and do different things. So competing and meeting friends is what it was about, like meeting new people, and that's how I kind of met like a lot of the people that I'm now best friends with.
Yeah,
So,
I can definitely relate to that with Jacques as well. Is the beauty of being able to travel around and use your job as that like opportunity to travel, and then meeting all these new people that you would never have got to meet back in your small town, and all those people again bring new opportunities. And I feel that once you've had a job coaching CrossFit in one country, it's very easy to then move on and get different CrossFit like jobs in different countries, because you've shown that you're committed to being away from home and doing that, and then being in those countries then allows you to meet all these new people and experience different competitions and everything else that comes along with it.
Yeah, and competition is actually a way to still see your friends that you've moved on from. Like, that's how you say, hey, let's catch up, let's go do this comp together, or let's see each other at this comp. So CrossFit's not just a part of like competing, but actually meeting friends again and seeing people that you've been friends with. So
I think that's what, compared to any other sport out there, what CrossFit has kind of nailed is the community aspect. I think everyone will kind of agree that the community is what brings people together. It what makes, sometimes when you don't feel like working out, you know that there's going to be certain people at the gym you want to say hey to, and it drags you there. Sometimes at competitions it pushes you a little bit harder if somebody you know there and you're competing against them, etc.
Yeah, and it is that nice social. Like, me and Jacques have competed together a few times, and I always describe competitions as the same thing. It's just an opportunity for me to catch up with all of my friends around Southeast Asia, because everyone kind of comes together for the big comps, and we don't get to hang out and train very often. When we're in those like scenarios of competitions, we always joke around and say we should do like a training camp week and get everyone together and just like do this more often. But the competitions are an awesome thing that CrossFit does that allows everyone to get together and socialize and then expand that friendship and community as well.
yeah, and beat your friends.
And be your friends, yeah, that's the most important thing.
You'll beat me one day.
That's why I train.
Yeah, one day.
That's why I train with Sam. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do now we've got to know Jacques a little bit more, is we're going to move on to our question section of the podcast. So as you guys know, 24 hours before we record, we put out a question box on our Life Outside the Box Instagram, and our guest will do that for us as well. So we've had 4 great questions sent in this week, which we're going to move on to right now. So the first question is from David, and that is, what is your most memorable moment in CrossFit or weightlifting?
So about 3 years ago, we had the big UC 1000 fitters competition here in Indonesia. It was like set up like a old type regionals event, and we had a typical like workout where 3 rounds you had to go 10 muscle ups, 10 clean and jerks, and then directly into a 1 rep max snatch, and competing against a couple of regional guys, and then I snatched 122.5. And not the closest number was like 110, and it was such a memorable moment for me because like it's something that I pride myself on, being able to lift under fatigue. So that was like a huge moment for me, like seeing these guys not getting weights up, and I could have even gone more, there just wasn't enough time, but that was like something for me that stuck with me, and it's still there. So
That's absolutely awesome. Sam, I do believe that you were at that competition as well. What was your most memorable moment about that competition?
Well, I was injured, so I did 15 calories on the rower and then called it a day on event number 1. But I was actually there, lucky enough. That's the nice thing about competing, even if you're not actually competing within the heat. Like having my friends there, people like Jacques, I watched him hit that snatch, and that's again something that I will always remember as well. Like seeing you perform, and obviously you always want to see your friends do well, and like hyping each other up and seeing like what that meant to you in that moment, and for you being able to perform under pressure against like some of the, or basically the top guys in Asia and this side of the world, and to win the event, which I can understand why it's such a memorable moment, because for me it sticks with me as well, and it was a pleasure to be a part of it.
That's always must be something lovely that you can test yourself against the best in the world and you won an event.
yeah, that's the big thing. Like you always want to be tested against the best in the world, and like under that circumstances, under that lights and everything, it was hot, it was crazy. Being able to do that, missing my first snatch at like 100, like just like a stupid, like, and then going to hit that big number, and then like saying I got an event win against like regional guys and guys that's been to the games was like really a big moment for me. So
just talking about weightlifting and CrossFit in general, I know you've done a few weightlifting meets as well. How does that compare for you when you're doing, say, a specific weightlifting meet where obviously you're not lifting under fatigue, to when you're doing a more of a CrossFit event like that one you just described where we're lifting under fatigue?
I would say like the difference is the vibe. Like the people at a weightlifting comp's way more relaxed. There's no shouting. There's no that pick me up or getting people hyped for that lift. So you need to be in your mind a lot, like saying you need to do this. There's no hype. There's no one that's gonna push you to do this. Where in CrossFit, that hype just like pushes you to go better. It's like lifting at the CrossFit Games. Like those people lifting you up, you just hit bigger numbers. It's just natural for me. So. And all the comps that I've done compared to weightlifting comps, like there's no comparison. Getting that hype, getting that people behind you, backing you, shouting at you, saying you can do this, just gives me that fire. Like you don't want to miss that lift. It's in front of people that's shouting for you and stuff.
So you have to tap into more intrinsic motivation for the weightlifting meets compared to external or extrinsic motivation factors for the CrossFit.
100%.
Do you find that because you've gone into weightlifting through CrossFit, right? You weren't a weightlifter before you started CrossFit. Do you find that when you're at a weightlifting meet, are you kind of channeling the same feelings you're getting when you're, say, from that event there, or are you also switched in your head where you're very calm and focused on the 3 numbers that you wanna hit, or before you go out, are you trying to kind of put yourself back in that position that you would be in a CrossFit?
Yeah, I think I'm very more relaxed. And I try and just focus on what I need to do at that specific moment. And you need to like just give yourself that hype. You need to talk to yourself saying, you got this, you need to do this now. Whereas you in a comp, you're tired, you're not thinking, you might be lifting under fatigue. You need people shouting at you to get you there, where there's a considerable amount of self-talk or self-motivation going into yourself when you're lifting on your own.
And for you personally, which do you prefer?
Lifting in front of people, mate. Like doing CrossFit comps, that motivation is next level.
There's something about doing a weightlifting event in a CrossFit comp. It's just like when you're lifting one person lifting at a time or whatever it is, or it's just the hype and everything that goes with it. You're PBing, you're looking around, your friends are PBing, everyone's just firing. It's a magical experience for sure.
Yeah, it's almost difficult to explain to people that fire that you get. Like, it's like you just don't want to disappoint people.
Yeah, and the weights feel light. Everything feels so light, and everything's just working. And it's just the adrenaline. You can never recreate that feeling in training. That's why it's so special.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. So this next one's from Steve. What's the major difference between coaching the Western world compared to coaching in the Eastern countries?
I guess just the way that people grow up. Like, you're so used to people being in Western countries used to doing sports at school or doing extracurricular activities like doing gymnastics or some kind of sport. So they are a little bit aware of their body. They know what they're getting. They know where they're coming into. Where coaching in like Asian countries or Eastern countries is like people don't do sports. They don't not at all aware of their body. And then coming into a setting, they don't know what to expect. They don't know how to use their body. And us as coaches need to teach them. And that bridge is so difficult, like especially of the different cultures, mate. So the biggest thing for me is people not knowing or not being able to be aware of what movement looks like, how to use their body, or how to use their limbs or connect that to their head, you know.
So you would think that quite a few people who you've coached, you've been the first, like, kind of invite, the first experience they've had of any kind of physical activity.
100%, yeah. Like, never been outdoors, grow up behind a computer, and then suddenly need to realize if I don't do something or get healthier, I'm going to have issues when I get older. So that's a big thing. A lot of the kids are growing up behind computers, and especially in Eastern countries. So they need to get outside or get moving. Otherwise, underlying issues like we've seen now is coming up more and more. So if they come in, like, they don't know anything. So it's me giving them that first, like, movement assessment as well.
I mean, that sounds super tough and it sounds very challenging, but there must be some reward in there knowing that you're their first kind of like experience of that.
Yeah, It's challenging in the beginning, but when you see those people starting to move and actually see them progressing, there's definitely a big sensation about that. You know, feeling and seeing people move well after you've been grinding for 2-3 months or years is that's why I'm coaching. That's why that fires that coaching for me. Like just moving forward the whole time, keeping positive, seeing people move.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well. And it's sometimes it is actually nice being the first kind of like point of call for someone, because they're coming in not knowing anything, and especially if they go to the right coach or the right person, then you have full reign of building them into like perfect movement patterns from day one. So it's so nice to just be able to like make someone understand what is right from the beginning, because all they know is wrong. So you can just put them in a good position and then suddenly it's right. And also challenging for the coach is there can potentially be language barriers and all this other stuff. So you've almost got to figure out techniques and methods where you can help them understand or get across your point without potentially using words, which can be quite challenging. But I feel that from a coaching point of view, it's nice because it allows you to expand your kind of skill set, and is very rewarding when it all pays off.
Yeah, I think we're so used to Western countries being people coming from sports and they already think they know everything. So coaching them can be just as challenging, because then they might have had a bad coach, or they got taught something that you don't disagree with. So I think like that's just as challenging, but movement is so important for us in Western countries, and it's getting better in Eastern countries now, but it's still super challenging adapting to that.
Yeah, I actually love the fact that both of you have touched upon the point where it's almost like you've got a clean page. You can implement the fundamentals of that person. You don't have to recoach bad habits or bad experiences. You just have a clean page in the book that you can just start on.
Yeah,
That's what I really like about CrossFit as well. As I know CrossFit does get, or it used to get, a little bit of a bad rep, but when I first got to Asia and Indonesia in 2015, there was two CrossFit gyms in Bali and a handful of CrossFit gyms in Indonesia, and now it's growing. There's more Indonesian people actually doing it, and I feel like it is becoming much bigger in Asia as well. And the nice thing about CrossFit is it does actually force standards and movement pattern. It's like if you were to just go and see your regular personal trainer down the gym, the chances are you're not going to be going into the same depths and detail that we would go in through with you as a CrossFit coach, where you're noticing a difference between a squat and a hinge, or you're looking at a proper overhead position. Like we see people come in the gym all the time that they've trained, but their movement pattern still needs work and needs to be fixed. So I think CrossFit is a great tool for like these countries that potentially don't have the same sort of sports growing up, allow them to get into a complete understanding of not only strength but conditioning and gymnastics and everything else that goes with it.
I think that's going to lead on nicely to the next question, but we're big on this podcast about transferable skills. And one thing that we do need to remember when we're doing CrossFit is that, say for a basketball player, for example, how the depth of what a basketball player would need to squat in terms of to increase their vertical jump is not the same as the standard for depth in CrossFit.
Yeah, but
it's still transferable.
CrossFit,
yeah. So we're going to talk now just more about transferable skills, because we do love them on this thingy. So the question now is from Jane, and is, what was the most transferable skill moving from wrestling to CrossFit?
Just before you answer that, just give us a little bit of a background on your wrestling career and your wrestling life.
Yeah, so basically started wrestling from a super young age. My dad wrestled. It's not a school sport, as you would say, so you had to start at a club level and had to train at nights. So from a young age, training 2 to 3 times a week from like 6 p.m. till like 7:30 p.m. for an hour and a half. As a kid was pretty tough. But yeah, wrestled for almost 21 years. South African colours, junior and senior, and then represented South Africa a couple of times overseas, and then also wrestling the Spanish Grand Prix in 2012 to qualify for the Olympics. Didn't qualify, but the guy that came first actually placed second at the Olympic Games. So it was super tough at that specific qualification. So yeah, that's made me who I am today.
For those of you who are listening and not watching on YouTube, unfortunately you don't get to see Jacques' battle squares from his wrestling. His cauliflower ear there. What do they say? Don't ever mess with someone with a cauliflower ear.
Yeah. Tough boy.
Yeah, so I mean the most transferable thing I would say is just that mindset when you don't have anything left to keep going. In a wrestling, it comes down to a single point. It comes down to a couple of seconds, and you are beyond tired. You cannot move anymore. You feel like there's nothing left, and just have to get that point, and you give everything you have. And I think CrossFit has the same thing. Like a lot of the times, there's like one rep you need extra, or there's that last sprint to the end, and having nothing left. Just giving everything you have, and that's transferred over for me the most.
That's probably a great point there that people maybe don't realise about combat sports particular, that when we're playing any other sports and we're absolutely exhausted and we kind of just want to take a break, you can do it quite safely. But in combat sports, if you're absolutely exhausted and you're knackered and you need to take a break, you could end up getting knocked out or getting strangled or getting choked out or anything like that.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that. It is a nice point that you brought up as well, because you do see it a lot, especially, for example, the CrossFit Open, you'll see people and you've got 5 seconds left on the clock and you're like, 5 seconds, pick it up, do one more burpee or whatever, and they're like, I can't. And it's like, you can, but your body's tired and you take an easy way out. And it's something that I try to do as well, is you're surprising that last 3 seconds, how much you can actually achieve if you try to just go past that point of the 10-minute mark or whatever it is and push through. And that's something that, like, I've trained with Jacques a lot, and he is the kind of guy, like, I think it's also one of his strengths. Obviously he's a great weightlifter, but when he's training, like when the going gets tough, he's always going to be moving. We did a workout on Tuesday and we were pretty much moving together the whole time, and I was like, I can't slow down, because I know Jacques isn't going to be slowing down. No matter how tired he is, he's going to keep pushing me, which is great for a training partner, and pushing himself through that mental barrier, just keeping going, which is a really good transferable skill from your younger years.
Yeah, for sure. No, and that comes with a lot of sports, not only wrestling, but I think it comes in team sports as well. Like that big thing, coming together as a team and having that mindset of, listen, no matter what, we need to push through it till the end. Like in a rugby game, in a basketball game, that 3-4 seconds at the end means just as much as anything else. So I think it's such a transferable skill across the board for any kind of sports.
I mean, Sam touched upon it then, which is lovely, because it's going to lead on to our next question. Next, it's the fact of using training partners to push yourself. But what Lynn asks is, for our last question, is how do you stay motivated to train without a training partner?
I guess it's having your own goals. Like the big thing is for me, I set goals daily and things that I want to achieve, and how I look at fitness as a whole. And one of the things that's non-negotiable is doing training. So if that is just getting into the gym, just moving, or actually having a good hard session, it doesn't matter. It just means like training for at least an hour or hour and a half a day. For me, is a non-negotiable, and that differs from every person to person. So,
would you say you're more intrinsically motivated or extrinsically motivated?
I would say more interested. Yeah.
Which I guess if you train on your own, that's going to be a lot easier. If you're intrinsically motivated, it's going to be a lot easier to train by yourself.
Yeah, and I think, like, answering that question, going back to the last question, is you have that mindset of not giving up in your training that you've got through your younger years, and if you are training on your own, if you have that mindset of like, right, if I start a workout, I finish it, I never quit it, and the hardest battle for you is just going to the gym, because you know once you're there, you're already in that mindset where it's like, I'm here, there's no way I'm going to quit this, I'm going to keep pushing no matter how much it's hurting, and getting it done. And I think that definitely comes from your wrestling background, because not everyone can train on their own, and obviously it is nice having someone to pace against and to push you into, just to chat to between sets. But if you want to be a good athlete, you got to put in the work, and if there's no one there to hold your hand or walk you through it, then like tough luck.
Yeah,
you just got to do it.
I'm just waiting for you
exactly
to give us a saying here. Just waiting for like a motivational quote off you here, like,
oh, that was it.
come on, give me something like, I'm willing to do what other people aren't willing to do so I can achieve what other people can't achieve, or something like that.
There
Come
it
on.
is. Yeah.
I was waiting for you to break into song about it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Doing the stuff that people don't see when you're alone, like, is the biggest thing. Like, I can easily go home every single day after coaching and say, well, that's that. But just being me, I need to get that stimulus. If that's just to clear my head or just to get something in, because I'll go home and feel bad about it, like if I didn't train. So, and it's like anything, learning how to rest on rest days.
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Like you feel like, oh, I needed to learn this, but I still want to go do something. And now after years, I'm super comfortable being able to listen to my body at the same time, but still resting when needed.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's something that I definitely used to struggle with personally, and I think a lot of people do struggle with, because you always think, well, I can always be doing something. But just because in that moment you think, well, for that 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever, you're going to feel better. But the rest of your training week, your development, your hypertrophy goals, your muscle protein synthesis, all those kind of boring things are going to be improved so much more just by having that day off.
Exactly. Like, we've all felt it when you go to the gym and you feel amazing. It's like, why would you not want to go to the gym feeling amazing every day? It's like, you're like, everything feels great today, I've got no aches, no pains, my body feels good. So why am I forcing myself through a day where I could rest and then tomorrow I could feel amazing? It's like, resting is something, it's not nothing. And it's something that we all should be doing as part of our training program.
Well, me and Jacques had a lovely chat the other night, and we spoke about the importance of rest day nutrition. So what a lot of people will do on rest days is they'll lower the calories or lower the carbohydrate levels, because they'll be thinking to themselves, well, I'm not doing anything today, so I don't need to fuel it. But in theory, that's actually wrong, because what we're trying to do on a rest day for an athlete especially is we're trying to top up our glycogen. We're trying to stay in a positive muscle protein, a positive protein nitrate, which means we're just going to try and stay muscle protein synthesis positive. So we need to, if anything, increase our calories and nutrients a little bit more. So we are basically giving our body all the tools it needs to fuel itself, to recover itself, so that then next time we go, we're 100%.
Yeah, so it's fueling up and we're recovering at the same time. And just back to the motivational stuff, is I watched an old CrossFit documentary, whatever one you call it, with Matt Fraser. And obviously Matt Fraser did a lot of his training on his own. And a quote that stuck with me that I heard him say once was, no matter like 10 minutes after the workout, you're going to feel the same. And you're either going to feel happy with your effort that you put in, or you're going to think, oh, actually, I kind of sandbagged it a little bit and I could have pushed a little bit harder. I could have pushed a harder pace or done a few more reps. So that's something that's just naturally comes to me when I'm doing a workout on my own, or even with somebody. It's like, I want to talk about the workout in 10 minutes time and think, you know what, I gave it my all, and I don't want to be there in 10 minutes time and think, actually, I kind of let myself down a little bit in that.
That super reminds me of your rope climb and shuttle sprint workout.
Yeah.
In the quarterfinals. So Sam got to a point, I was actually judging him. Sam got to a point like 2 rounds to go or something, and you just kind of just time to send it then. Either you send it now or you don't, and you feel disappointed that you didn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. We got to do that workout together, didn't we?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did.
That was Jacques' first time back to Bali in a couple
I
of
got
years.
to watch you finish, which was a nice pleasure.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
here he
You
is.
got to-
Sam won a
got to
workout,
watch me.
everyone, quick.
Yeah.
If anyone's watching on YouTube, just look at his face now. Look how happy he is. Okay, so now the bonus questions. This is a question which may or may not have been sent in by viewers, may have been written by myself or Sam, but something we definitely want to know, and that is, what does the future hold for you? Whether it be training, coaching, etc. Where are you going?
Yeah, I set myself some goals, and I would look at next year doing semi-finals. I think I'm good enough to get there, and doing quarters this year just showed me that I can do it. Um, I was a little bit of demotivated in training for a while, and getting back to Asia kind of gave me that fire again, and being in the right environment for me. So definitely looking at getting to semifinals, and then I mean always growing as a coach. Something that's always stuck with me for a long time is to always try and grow and get myself to a place where um, I'm always open to learning new things. I think we get stuck into a mindset where, oh, I've done so much learning already, I don't need to know anything else. I don't think you can ever know enough, especially about fitness, about people, about relationships, about all those things, because they're all interconnected, right? We're not just CrossFit coaches. We listen to people's problems. We build friendships. We motivate people. So there's all interlinking stuff. So for me, like if I can learn a bit more about that in the coming years and just keep on growing as a coach, that would be I would be pretty happy with that.
I love that there, because I have in my head here visions of you training in Bandung by yourself and just thinking, if I'm going to make semi-finals next year, this is what counts. By myself here, just working out by myself, pushing as hard as I can. That's what counts, and that's almost like an extrinsic motivation factor that's more internal for you, more intrinsic for you.
Yeah, I want to do it differently. Like I don't want to go to that place where I'm breaking myself down next year before quarters or semi-finals, and get there saying I train 6 hours a day. Like I think there's different ways of training, and I think there's different ways of doing. And if I can stick to getting my 2 hours in and still looking after my body and being fit and healthy and make it, I think a lot of people will change that mindset of I don't need to train. Yes, there is some things that we need to do extra, but also at the same time, I think if you have a good coach and you structure your programming right and you're doing all the things right that you need to do, like nutrition, like your lifestyle, the environment that you're in, that's going to make the difference, and not just putting in the hours.
100%. Yeah, and for me, like standing out there to you, or what stands out to me from what you said is the goal setting. And like it's obviously something that's very important to you, and it's something that we've heard a lot about from our other guests as well, is if you understand why you're doing it and you have a reason behind why you're doing it, and that's obviously going to fuel your motivation, because you're like, I'm going to the gym because I want to make semi-finals. And just by having that why and that goal, suddenly training then becomes easy, because you're training for a purpose, not just thinking, actually, why am I going to the gym today? Because I haven't got any competitions, I haven't got anything that I'm aiming to do. And then the other thing is, not only you're doing that for like a personal, selfish thing with your training, it's also your willingness to grow as a coach and your constant personal development, which is going to help you help other people and grow as a better businessman, coach, and everything else that comes in between, which is definitely on the right track compared to our other guests that we've had, where they're all outsourcing and working with mentors and whatever to get to the best they possibly can be.
Yep, 100%. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to our 3 sections of the podcast. We do this with all 3 guests. So the first section, we ask this question to everyone. Well, everyone's answers have been super different, actually. Everyone think about everyone's answers. Some people have got the question, some people haven't. But what's the most important thing you do outside of the gym or box that helps you inside the gym or box?
I think the biggest thing for me is just getting to a place where I can release some tension, like in a way for going to a wrestling practice or doing a jiu-jitsu session. Like that contact just makes me feel so much better outside of the gym, that I know it's in a different gym setting, but it just makes me feel so good. And that's what I used for the longest time, like doing something else that connects me with wrestling, but is not wrestling, and gives me a new skill that I'm learning. So getting to do something that I'm learning, something different, and building skills is kind of the biggest thing for me outside of the gym.
Yeah, it's just nice to put yourself in a different environment, because at the end of the day, we spend a lot of time in the CrossFit gym. We coach in there, we train in there, we do everything in there. So for you to, even when you're training, it's not work, but sometimes it can feel like, because you're within the work environment, it still feels like work. So to be able to get out and go be a guest at a gym suddenly completely changes your experience, because you're not worrying about someone hasn't put the dumbbells away over there, or the floor's dirty, or something that you need to worry about later. You can actually just be a guest and enjoy the experience for what it is, whether that's another CrossFit gym or you're going out and doing a new activity where you're using your brain to learn something new.
Yeah, it's thinking about you and not thinking about everyone else, because that's what we do in the gym. You think about everyone coming into the gym. How am I going to coach this person today? How am I going to do this today? Or, oh, I have to do this for gym, if I have to do that, but actually not thinking about yourself. So getting outside of the gym is thinking about yourself.
I mean, that's very similar to when you go surfing, yeah?
Yeah.
The same kind of principle.
Yeah, or if I, like a few weeks ago, I went down, or a few months ago now, I went down and trained at a gym in Jimbaran, and I felt like I was on holiday.
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. Like, I just wandered in, like, had a drink, started warming up, did the workout with my friends, and then just hang out in the sun after. And I was like, this is awesome, because I don't worry about someone coming to talk to me or doing this or doing that or organising anything. It was really nice. And yeah, obviously surfing as well is, and again, another thing.
Okay, so we're going to move on to now. This is quite an interesting topic. Some people have given us some corking answers. But what is your favourite thing to do outside the gym or box?
I would say get a massage, mate. It's something that's part of my weekly ritual. So I get a massage every week. It relaxes me. It helps my recovery, and it's just something that has stuck with me, especially in Asia because it's so cheap. That you can do on a weekly basis, look after your body, and I enjoy it so much.
That's interesting, because that could have been the answer to the first question as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
When you asked that question, I was like, oh, this is pretty similar.
Yeah. No, but it could be. So that's obviously just what you enjoy doing and what kind of your life is tailored around, regardless of whether it's you having enjoyment or whether you're trying to become better at something. It's all the same kind of thing.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like, our lives revolve around fitness.
Yeah.
So it's either looking after your body or looking after your mind, and looking after your mind means thinking about yourself. Where could I be to just relax and just think about myself, or am I looking after my body in a way? So I think both of them can be super related, you know?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because Sam's, if you go back to episode 1, Sam's was going out and getting drunk. Mine was eating food and yours is getting massage. It's just it sounds like a good Saturday night, if you put them all together.
What order are we doing that in?
Yeah, I mean, all of those things are pretty great.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so section 3. So this is something that we have kind of, between the three of us, decided what we want to hear your opinion on, your kind of expertise from your experiences, and you are definitely super experienced enough to answer this. And it is, what's the different approaches to coaching CrossFit, which is quite a structured program, to different cultures?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is giving yourself a big chance to learn that specific culture. Because if you're not making an effort to learn the culture and actually trying to even speak the language of that specific place where you're in, that's going to be the bridge that you have to get over to actually then get them to move or get to a structure where you are getting them to actually be more confident at moving, getting them into a more structured program. So breaking down movements more, having smaller groups, I would say. Big groups are really challenging, especially if there's a language barrier.
What about the specific different in cultures, say with communication or with people, physicality, touching people, that kind of thing? Is there different? We come across different.
It's super different. It's super different. The way that you talk to people, the way that your facial expressions look, the way that you come across to people, in Saudi, if you raise your voice, it can be taken very offensive. So that means you're not shouting at anyone, you're just raising your voice, but they think that's something in an Arabic culture that they take offense to. So for me, I needed to quickly address that and just talk a little, because I can be super loud, especially coming across, because I want to have people hear what I'm saying. So I had to quickly change that and be just more mindful of how to do those things. And then you approach it from a whole different perspective. Then you start moving around more, talking more not just standing in one spot, but actually moving around while you're talking. So you don't have to talk that loud, but you're moving so everyone kind of hears you talking. That was like the biggest thing for me there, where in Vietnam, it's a whole different story again. It's a different culture, it's a different place. Again, those people are very loud. It sounds like they're shouting at each other the whole time. So there you can adapt again to speak louder, be more clear and concise with how you're saying things. And then I think the biggest thing is making sure that you break down movements so much to their core that you're not giving them anything that they would struggle with. Like, you first want to bring them in with the basics, and then move over to getting where you are more structured, you are more getting to higher skill movements.
There's still two things I want to touch upon there. Is there anything you want to ask there, Samuel? I've still got two more.
Yeah, I really like how like we touched on earlier, is how you've developed so many different skills and how you'll be able to become a different version of yourself to get to the same outcome. It's like you can be one person, you can be another person depending on the room that you are given, which is again something that can't really be taught. You just have to learn it through experience of how you're going to adapt to the room and to the culture, and how you're going to make it work for you.
So the two things I really want to touch upon here, and I may be totally off point, there may be no differences, but what about language used? Is there different language? Can you use different language? Like, can you be like more assertive in different places? Do you have to be like more kind of like type A, type B personality with people?
Yeah, you need to like definitely be. Asia is a way more relaxed country, so you cannot be like, I had to learn that down pretty quick to be like a military guy, like shouting at people, getting them to move. You need to start that by just forgetting that, putting that away, and getting in touch with your more friendlier side. And that's a big thing. Like, you need to I'm not the biggest smiler in the whole world, and every place I've been, especially in Asia, people are saying just smile more, and it's really hard for me to adapt to, because it's something that I'm super passionate about and super serious about. So when I am coaching, I get like this blunt kind of face, and I'm just like in there trying to get people moving the best that they can, where now I need to try and joke. So I have this stupid joke people can't see now, but I'm like, especially when people don't understand, I'll go like, do you understand? Yes, no. And I'll do like a circle with my head and stuff.
I'm super glad you've said that, because what we're going to do for the YouTubers, we're going to put like a little sign language guy in the bottom corner for YouTube, just so everyone can understand what you're saying.
So that's like, I make this as a joke and people laugh about it, but it's just to see that, just to show like I'm not that serious, it looks like I'm being serious, but I need to kind of just joke about it as well, so they can see, oh well, he's joking, so we can also joke about it. Like, there's a place where you need to be so much more relaxed. Like, Asia is a relaxed country, and especially being in Bandung and working with, for the first time, just with like Indonesian people, it's been like a super shift again from where I was in, say, Thailand, because they're so different people, and people don't understand that. Like, now I need to be like jokey and like be soft on like people coming late and people like struggling, and you need to just accept that it's okay. You know, tomorrow they're going to come back and you can try again and again, because they just don't know their bodies that well, that no matter what you say, it's not going to change that. So like you need to just adapt and sometimes accept like it's okay, they can move like that, and tomorrow we'll try again, and you'll see after time that they are moving better, they are learning, and that's just a thing that you need to adapt to.
So it's something I want to touch upon, and I would like both of you kind of like experiences on this. And it's what about physical barriers? Do physical barriers, like being able to physically help people get into certain positions and stuff, does that change in the cultures that we're training? Or for you, say, who gets to like work in one space but gets multicultural members, does that change with those members, or does it change in the areas we're coaching at, or is it just, do we always have the same kind of line with that?
Yeah, I try to judge every situation off the individual. So I'm never just gonna go straight in, hands in on every single
Apart
person.
from with me.
Yeah,
That's all you're doing.
So yeah, I think it's a skill that you pick up, and obviously everyone is different, but you notice the similar signs between different people, and the more you do it, the easier it is to pick up on these signs. Of some people, at the end of the day, they just want to be at the gym, and I like to think about if somebody's moving safely, but not perfectly, then I'm okay with that. If they're just coming to the gym and they're not putting themselves at any risk of injury, but they're not in a technically perfect position, then that's okay. And some people don't want help and they're happy and that's it. And you can read that body language off those people. But other people potentially do want help, and it's just making sure that you let them know what you're doing, and if they allow you to like touch them or whatever and put them into a better position, great. But if not, if you can feel the energy if it's accepted or not, and if it's awkward, then you just don't do it. And it's just judging the situation and not expecting the next person in line to have the same kind of outcome.
Yeah, I'm just curious if, depending on different cultures, it's like more widely accepted or not.
Yeah, so there is cultural things that definitely doesn't agree with touching. I would say like Saudi is a place where touching is not really something that you'll do. Over time, you'll find people that says like, can you just show me?
Yeah.
And you can move them into positions, but it's not something that's accepted widely for you to just go over and touch someone.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. More like, say somebody just needs to drive through the knees more on a push press, or they need to just set the scapula back, or on a kipping, they say going too far.
Yeah.
And just little like hand movement kind of things.
Yeah, you'd rather show them than touching them, especially there. And like Sam said, I think even with the different cultures, it's something that after years of experience you can pick up through eye contact. For me especially, like if I come closer, you will see in someone's eyes, oh shit, they don't want this, or come in, they're inviting you to kind of say it's okay, you can come closer, you can kind of touch me. There has been instances where you kind of touch someone and they're like, whoa, that's kind of weird, but then they see that you want to help them and then accept it from there. So it's all about, for me, like the relationship that I have with that person is also a big thing. Like I know if this person is open and talks to me after class and always wanting more, it's someone that's more inviting to kind of not touch in a professional type of manner.
Yeah, I love that, because what you kind of both saying is that it's super individualized regardless of culture.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's person and the relationship that the coach has with the person.
Yeah, totally. I would agree with that it's not culture, because I understand that in Saudi there's certain religions and stuff that you don't touch people, but I know people from the UK, for example, that don't want to be touched.
Yeah.
And that's completely fine. And I feel like it's kind of a checklist. Is you go and you try to fix someone and you give them like a verbal cue, and then you try another one, and then you try to show them, and then maybe like last case resort, you touch them or you help put them into the right position.
Yeah,
but
I think touch is maybe a bad word, isn't it? It's like kind of move is maybe
Yeah,
a little bit of a
adjust.
better phrase.
Yeah,
Like adjust is the one.
yeah, like putting someone into
Yeah.
the right position. But like Sam said, that's my last thing. It's always my last resort to kind of touch someone and put them into the right position. I would want them to feel the position on their own, and then if that's still not working, then I'll help them putting them into the right position. But other than that, I feel like it's something that, yes, you do when you have a really good relationship with someone, and if you can actually see, hey, it's okay, I can touch you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's the other thing as well, is like sometimes before you even get to that point, especially if it's someone's first day, I think a lot of people, I don't want to generalize male or female, but if people go to the gym, a general gym, and they feel like they're being stared at or whatever, it's like, it's kind of is our job to stare, but we need to have that level of communication so the client knows that we're looking at you to help you. We're not checking you out or whatever it is, for example. And it's knowing yourself that this is a professional job and you're a professional, and helping to communicate with the client as well, that I'm actually just, when you're doing a squat, I'm looking at your movement. I'm not looking at your body in a like a bad way or whatever. And then it's just using like professional ways. Like if you're squatting someone in a back squat, I will never grab the chest. I'll always just use my forearms to help bring them up, and I'll communicate that with, especially if it's a female, before we start. If they ask me for a spot, before I dive straight in, I'm going to say, okay, this is how it's going to work. This is where I'm going to be moving your body, so they have that right from the beginning and they can feel confident within it.
Yeah, it's just being clear on the intentions that you have. And what I tend to do, especially with more shyer clients that's struggling, and that I get that a lot with people that's in a class setting that doesn't want to be pinpointed or adjusted in front of other people because they have that sense of pride. I fix the problem with everyone.
Yeah.
So I'll address the problem. I won't pinpoint, and I'll fix the problem with everyone.
Yeah.
And then if I need to adjust someone with touch, I'll like kind of call someone that I know is comfortable with it and say, like, this is how you need to move, or I'll put them into the correct place, and that kind of gives them a sense of, okay, this is maybe how I need to move my body or need to get to that place. So
Yeah. As with everything in fitness, I love the fact that it's just individualized and it's not like grouped together.
Yeah, it's just different methods and techniques. Sometimes, like Jacques said, you tell the group one thing when it's actually only for one person within the group, and it's almost like indirect way of telling someone what they should be doing without calling them out, which I love.
I love calling people out. I love calling me out.
It's easy to call you out.
Yeah.
So, last little bit here, Jacques, is something we ask all of our guests. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you could stop now, go back to the first day you started CrossFit, or this journey that we're on now. What's the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Focus more on the basics. I think because I had that natural athletic ability, I jumped pretty quick to things that I should have probably not. And I should have just focused more on the basics in the beginning and just build a good foundation. And I would have probably had less like niggles at this stage of my CrossFit career. And just be more aware of my body. I think as an athlete, you always think about pushing through. And if something's hurt, you just like, I'll tape that, or I'll strap that, or I'll take something. And I think if we just take a step back and realize that after I've been an athlete, I still need to live, and I still want to be able to move. That I would take that and say, listen, just take care of the basics. Focus on the things that you like, mobility more. Focus on the things that's going to keep your body healthy while you're being an athlete. Because I think we miss out on that stuff in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's very hard to you kind of prioritize health over performance, or performance over health. And it's like, right, I don't want to miss this week's squats, even though my knees are sore. It's like, I really want to keep squatting because I want to get the next number. I want to keep progressing, where you've got to look at the long game, and we've all got 50 years left maybe on this planet. And it's like, you want to be able to, when you've got grandkids or kids or whatever, to be able to pick them up, play with them, and not be like, oh, I did CrossFit for 10 years of my life and now I can't run around or do any of that stuff. So
yeah, I think
really
that's
important.
the biggest thing, like just being able to sit on a small chair in Vietnam and not wanting to die, because that's simple stuff, but it's for them, like for Asian people overall, they've got super good mechanics if you look at squatting and stuff like that. And for me, I hate sitting down on those chairs just because of all the sports and all the stuff.
You don't like lying on the floor for an hour, do you?
No.
Yeah, that is a good point there about I guess you generalize Asia, but I've been out for many like local meals here, and you're sitting on the floor at a knee-high table, and the guys and girls that you're with are sitting there for an hour, absolutely fine, eating their food, and I'm sitting there for 10 minutes and suddenly my back's sore, my hips are sore, and we're just, if I worked probably more on my mobility and my overall body health rather than my performance, I'd probably be able to sit there comfortably. And it's definitely something that I feel like in the Western world, we spend a lot of time just sitting down on chairs, but where we probably should be moving more.
Yeah. So that's a really good one there, Jacques. Just focusing on the fundamentals, on the basics a little bit more, and on a little bit of focusing on the unsexy things that will help you perform better in the gym.
100%, yeah.
So I think you can take something away from that.
I don't, because I feel like you're both attacking me here.
Mike wants to do it all 6 months in.
Well,
but
it's okay.
Hear it from the top here.
Yeah.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Nah.
Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the podcast here now, Jacques. Thank you very much for being here. If our viewers, all 7 of them back home, want to check you out, where can they find you?
Just on Instagram mostly, Jacques_coach. That's where most of my things go. You'll just see videos of me training every day.
Okay.
it's nothing much. It's just me training.
Lifting massive weights.
But yeah, you can get into contact with me there. I'm always super good at replying on messages on there. So if you want to pop any questions or just have a chat, I'm always open to chatting to everyone.
Awesome.
So my response time on those are really quick.
UL, where can the new viewers that don't already follow you, where can they find you?
You can always find me at sambish92 on Instagram. If you want to go on my YouTube, The Life of Bish, check it out.
So yeah, mine is at Mike Nico. YouTube is Mike Nicholson, and our here at the podcast is life_outside_the_box_podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, and on YouTube it's just Life Outside the Box podcast. That is going to bring today to an end.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming, Jacques. Thank you very much for being the pleasure that you always are, Samuel.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say before we?
No, just
Call it
thanks,
off,
guys. I haven't been on these before, so it was pretty good to just have a chat and just actually feel like comfortable having a chat with guys about fitness.
Yeah. We try and make it just like us 3 go out for dinner most nights or for lunch and train together most days. We just want to feel like what we do every day
one
anyway.
of those
Yeah?
conversations.
Yeah,
No,
it's nice to force yourself into actually going deeper than just a quick 2-3 word answer.
Yeah.
Using your brain a little bit more.
No, it's really nice. Thanks a lot, guys.
Last thing, guys, if you did enjoy this episode, please do share it around with your friends if you feel like they'll get something out of it. Share it, post it on your stories. Check out the YouTube video if you haven't already, so you can see our beautiful faces on there.
And what do we have on next week, Samuel? Tell the viewers. We can if you want, we can just cut out the other 7 and put it here, or you can try. Go on, let's try and make it a little bit.
Well, you guys
different.
are so lucky because here in Bali, we've got a bag full of interesting people that just keep coming in to visit us. So just like Jacques here, we've got someone else coming in next week, I'm sure, to give you some beautiful information, share a little bit of story about their life and how they're becoming the person that they are today. So make sure you stick around, subscribe, so you won't miss that one.
Do you think this week's going to be the week or not? Yes or no? Just say yes or no.
No.
No. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for listening.
Da, 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 da. It's life outside the box.
No, he didn't do it. I thought he was always going to sing
No
with
one
you.
ever does it.
See you later, guys. Thank you.
Ta-ta.
Thanks, guys.